Please get comfortable in your seat. We're going to sit for our opening song, Meditation on Breathing, 1009, in the teal hymnal. Follow along with the choir. Thank you. Sounded pretty good on that one. I'm Laura Anderson, the Worship Associate for today's service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County. I'm a 68-year-old woman with long purple and silver hair. My pronouns are she, her. I'm wearing a lavender shirt and a black and white print jacket, and I welcome you here today. There is room for you here today. We're live streaming the service on YouTube, and the video will be posted after the service. Many thanks to all who make the service possible. I'd like to welcome Maureen Peters this morning and Robert Moran. Robert will share the bowl with us as we meditate this morning, and Maureen is our speaker. If you're new here and brave enough, would you stand and introduce yourself and tell us where you're from so we can welcome you? Doug has a mic so we can hear you.
I guess I could say I'm renewed here. It's been several years. I'm David Blood, and I've been living in Sarasota, and now I'm, thanks to Milton, in Northport.
Welcome, David.
Welcome, David.
Hi, I'm Susan Nordval. I've lived here maybe 4 years. I'm from Minnesota. And the thing I do down here is propagate native plants in a group of people. It's my big interest.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any snowbirds who are just returning? You have to be brave too.
I'm Jeannie, and this is my husband, Don. We just returned from Springfield, Missouri.
Welcome home. The welcoming words this morning are from UU Minister Reverend Mary Eads. Would you help me? There are 4 lines. There are 4 times for you to say one sentence. The sentence is, "There is room for you here." I'll pause when it's your turn. There is room for you here. If God is your strength and companion, and prayer the means of centering your thoughts. If the teachings of Buddha give you clarity and calm in the midst of human suffering. If Gaia's seasonal rhythms lead you best through the myriad steps of life's great dance. If the still mysterious capacity and power of the mind stirs your imagination and quickens your pulse. Rest now beside that spring wherever it is for you, and let your attention go to the small places inside or out into the great wide world, places or people in need of healing or for which your heart is filled with thanks. Jim, would you share a prelude? Yes, thank you, Jim. The chalice and flame are sacred symbols of Unitarian Universalism and come in a variety of shapes and sizes. As we light ours this morning, we join UUs worldwide in sacred space. Would you please join me in reciting the words in the order of service as Jeannie comes forward to light our chalice this morning? And if you're at home, please take the time now to light your chalice. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you, Jeannie. The opening words this morning are from Elizabeth Tarbox, a UU minister who has served several congregations in Massachusetts. All is dukkha. Dukkha, they say, the Buddhists say. All is dukkha. It is hard to translate, they tell us. It means literally suffering, but the feeling of dukkha is closer to impermanence. The fact of impermanence is central to the Buddhist path to nirvana, enlightenment. Dukkha, all is impermanence, nothing lasts. Let us find each other in a changing world. Let us experience love as something which exists, a possibility which is. Let us know that we are alive and being renewed miraculously each second, that the impermanence gives to life its freshness and surprise, that our memories of yesterday and our expectations of tomorrow make now a cherished, precious, eternal moment. We have a tradition here of honoring our life experiences by sharing both joys and concerns with each other so that we can witness each other's lives and know we are supported and cherished by this community. We have several ways you can share: by writing in the Book of Life, which resides in the back of the sanctuary, or you can email bookoflife@uufcc.org. Trudy, would you be so kind to bring the book up? Dennis says, I want to share my deep gratitude for all the folks who made Betty Munford's celebration of life such a beautiful service. It really does take a village. And Catherine says, to everyone and anyone who experienced a loss from the 2 hurricanes, I feel your pain. I also have from Alice and George Clattenburg. Our beautiful, loving, generous, funny, caring, talented son Jim passed away on October 23rd after a bad fall. He will be missed by anyone who knew him. Roberta Bobby Cole's family sent a message on Thursday. Bobby was a congregant at your fellowship over a number of years, but more recently had not attended due to issues with memory and limited mobility. This past spring, due to progressive dementia, he, his current preferred pronouns, was admitted to memory care at Discovery Commons in Northport. Over the past few months, Bobby has declined to the point where he is now in hospice and is gravely ill. And I'm sad to say that Bobby passed away Friday evening. Please keep Bobby's family in your prayers and thoughts. I now invite you to come forward and drop a stone in silence or briefly share aloud what's in your heart this morning.
Where are you? Here. I moved to express gratitude. We were looking for a place to do Tai Chi on Saturday, and we were looking around Gilchrist Park, and there were like, I don't know how many, but lots and lots of people arriving in trucks and getting out of their trucks and having wheelbarrows and buckets and women and men, and they were working like unbelievably together, teamwork, cleaning up Gilchrist and the parks downtown. They were volunteers. They were happy at their work, and they lifted me up. And then there was a meme on Facebook today that I saw where in Asheville, there's a bridge and a highway that their prediction was 3 months to get close to getting it done. And a group of coal miners from West Virginia came in and did it in a week. So I'm grateful.
Well, I'm grateful too. This is for Phil Lesh, who was with the Grateful Dead. I've never met him, but I've saw him many times throughout the years, and he just passed away. And I remember even when Bobby called me the hippie, and I said, "Oh, I think that's a compliment for me." But okay.
So I have a joy. So if anybody knows me, they know my favorite singer is Luke Combs. And Luke put on a wonderful benefit concert last night in North Carolina to help with the victims of Helene. And he had been trying to put this together for like over a month now. And all the ticket money, all the auctions they did there, everything is going to the Helene victims. And I'm proud to say that they raised $24 million last night.
Well, as I already stated, I had to move from Sarasota because of Milton, and I'm very grateful for some friends who welcomed me into their home here in Northport, and I'm glad to be back here.
This stone is for all of those thoughts and feelings that are too tender to say aloud this morning. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to the light of your own true nature. May you be healed. May you be a source of healing for all beings. And in that spirit, let us be silent together for a time. Thank you, Robert. I would like to introduce Maureen Peters. Maureen's path to Buddhism began at the First Unitarian Church in Dallas in the 1990s. And here she is again at a Unitarian Fellowship to tell us the rest of the story. Maureen?
Well, I over-prepared for this talk, so I'm going to ask, how long do I have?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay. When the 20 minutes is up, raise your hand, and wherever I am, we'll call it quits, okay?
Deal.
The rest of the story with the Unitarian Church is that they had a pastor by the name of Laura Hallman who loved Zen Buddhism. And she traveled to Plum Village in France, which was a community formed by a teacher called Thich Nhat Hanh. And he inspired people like Laura as to how do you create a beloved community? How do you build skills so that people can resolve conflict? How do you relate to one another? And so she was inspired by that, and when she came back, she infused her sermons with things about Plum Village and Thich Nhat Hanh, and inspired me to think about Thich Nhat Hanh. So shortly thereafter, I went to visit my sister in Mountain View, and there was a great Buddhist bookstore called East West Bookstore, and it had many, many books of Buddhism. And so I went in my naivete, I said, "Do you have any books by Thich Nhat Hanh?" And they said, "Do you see that shelf over there? Those are his books." And there had to be at least 50 books on that shelf. Well, subsequent to that, these are the Thich Nhat Hanh books I have purchased since then. And we have studied some of them here in the Buddhist Meditation Circle that happens on Thursday at 4:30. Forgive me for the plug. This book by him, called The Heart of the Buddhist Teachings, is a fabulous book. You can see by all the yellow stickies and all the yellow stickies sticking up in the book. Those are all places I marked special things to look at. And this is the one I used a lot for the comments I'm going to be making about Buddhism. This is the first book I bought in the store, and that was Present Moment, Wonderful Moment. And of course the theme is, how do you live the current moment when you are alive without worrying about the future or the past? This is the present moment. And next was a teacher I followed, although I wasn't a very good student, I have to admit. But his book is called Dharma Paths. And he was an inspirational person, a Rinpoche, a Kempo, which is a high-ranking title. And he lived in, well, let me say, he came to this country and was assigned to bring Buddhism to the area. So he lived in, this is where the memory thing happens, Woodstock, New York, where the big music festival occurred. There's a Buddhist home, monastery, learning training center, temple that's in Woodstock. And it's a tourist attraction for people there. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place, and I've been there several times for retreats. So now the rest of that story is that I always seem to circle around back to the Unitarian Church or fellowship or whatever you call it. And even though I'm not an official member here, I do contribute, and I do appreciate the venue it gives us for our Buddhist practice in meditation. And there's a community and fellowship here that is very Buddhist-like most of the time. Okay. I'm getting my notes now. Okay. I have here a few more props that have been put up. On the table here are the pictures of my three main teachers. I can't move away from the mic, so I can only point my finger. But one of them is Lama Dujum Dorje, who comes from Dallas, Texas now, and he has been a spiritual guide for me for many, many years. The other picture, Kempo Carter Rinpoche, she's holding up, and that is the person who wrote Dharma Paths, which was this book here. That's him. He died a couple of years ago, but I knew him and had teachings from him for several years. And then the third picture is of Tai Situ. He's also a Kempo, and he lives in India, and he's the head of one of the lineages in Buddhism. And what people don't realize is that Buddhism has as many variations as Christianity does. It's not one flavor of ice cream, okay? So when I became involved here there in Dallas, I eventually ended up at a Buddhist practice center that was Tibetan Buddhist. And Tibetan Buddhists are I shouldn't say opposite, not similar in visual and sensual experiences like the Zen Buddhists are. So the Zen Buddhists, you sit and stare at a blank wall when you meditate. In Buddhism, you have all kinds of things like on the front here. You have banners, you have pictures of the various teachers, you have statues, you have a complete sensual experience. They do incense, they do chanting, they do all kinds of things, as opposed to not opposed, but as different from the Zen Buddhists. So you have those two kind of variations. In Tibetan Buddhism, you have several major teachers, and they are called lineages. And I personally belong to the Karmapa lineage, and that is one of three major lineages. The Dalai Lama is head of the Gelugpa lineage, and so that's a different branch, like Presbyterianism or Unitarianism or whatever, and so it's similar but different at the same time. But the Dalai Lama is credited with being the main political leader in all the Tibetan Buddhism sects. However, he has retired from that position because of its impact on the Chinese and the resulting problems that they have given Buddhists in Tibet. Okay. I'm going to do a couple of things that are common in beginning a Buddhist program. One of them is the refuge prayer. The refuge prayer is what you say to imply your intention of what do you want to accomplish by doing this practice. And so it is in English, in the Buddha, Dharma, and assembly most excellent, I take refuge until I reach enlightenment. By the merits of generosity and other good deeds, may I obtain enlightenment for the sake of all beings. And I'll say it once in Tibetan. Sanjay Chodang Soki Sonam La Jang Chu Bardu Dakni Kyap Suchi Daki Jin Soki Pe Sonam Ki Jola Penchir Sanjay Drupashuk. And next, they say the four immeasurables. May all sentient beings gain happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be cut off from the highest bliss, which is devoid of suffering. And may they come to rest in the great impartiality, which is free of attachment and aversion. Okay. So the topic today is called the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths are, first of all beings in conditioned existence in the phenomenal world experience pain and suffering, the truth of suffering. We must understand where the suffering comes from, the truth of origin. If the origin of suffering is removed, the suffering ceases. The truth of cessation of suffering. And four, in order to remove the origin of suffering and terminate the suffering, we must find a path. And so they have the truth of the path. And I'm going to tell you, clue you in as to what that path is. There are 8 parts to the path. And the first part is right view. And right view is gaining a deep understanding of the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha said right view is to have faith that our suffering can be transformed, that there are people who have done it. And we have the ability to distinguish between wholesome and unwholesome roots or seeds in the depths of our consciousness. We want to water the wholesome seeds, and we want to perceive something that enables us to be happy, or perceive something that enables us to be happy, or we know we will suffer. Right view cannot be described. We can only point in the right direction. We are the gardener, the instrument for watering the wholesome seeds in mindful living, in breathing, walking, living, each moment of our day in mindfulness. Right view is the foundation of thinking. And then there's right thinking. Right thinking makes our speech clear and beneficial. And so we develop the thought, are you sure? What am I doing? Those are the 2 things you use to see whether you're having right thinking. And we say, hello, habit energy. That's when you do something in reaction to something that you didn't think before you did it. And then in bodhicitta is our mind of love. That we have the deep wish to cultivate how to bring happiness to others, to be a motivating force for practice mindful living, and to replace unwholesome thoughts with wholesome thoughts. And that's one reason we meditate, because the unwholesome thoughts will always come up when you're meditating. And the idea is, say, gotcha, okay, now I'm going back to meditating. Okay, right mindfulness, that's the third part. The energy to bring us back to the present moment. And so some people think when they're meditating they're doing it wrong because they, I got a thought that came up and I can't get rid of that thought, okay? And it's not a problem. The problem is just to remember to go back to your breathing. You don't have to stamp out any thought. You just eventually reach a place where you can see it and just let it float by like a leaf on a river. I I know the right mindfulness also nourishes the object of our intention. We think, I know you are suffering. We look deeply and we shine our light on the object and yourself. And then you want to lead in right mindfulness to understanding. The fruits of touching deeply the present moment, ever deeply, the fruits are understanding, acceptance, love, and the desire to relieve suffering and bring joy. There's right concentration, but I didn't write anything after it, so we'll just say the next one is right focusing properly. Then there's right speech, and that's when you become aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech. And I know we have all experienced that. You're not human if you haven't experienced saying something you wish you hadn't said. I am committed to cultivating loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and relieve others of their suffering. This is one of the sayings that they have in Buddhism. Also, you want to speak truthfully, not with a forked tongue, not speak cruelly, not exaggerate or embellish, and don't dramatize unnecessarily. Those are all qualities of right speech. Then we have right action, and that's the practice of nonviolence to ourselves and others. And they say, aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating compassion and learning ways to protect lives of people, plants, animals, and minerals, not to kill or support any act of killing. Aware of suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, or oppression, I am committed to cultivate loving kindness and learning ways to work for the well-being of people, animals, plants, and minerals. And aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct, I am committed to cultivating responsibility and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society. I don't know, it sounds like Unitarians to me. All these, what's different? I don't know. And then the next part of the path is called right diligence or effort. And that means you make an effort to prevent unwholesome seeds from arising. You can tell when something is arising in you that's not wholesome. And so you work to get rid of them. And you help them return to your store consciousness. Buddhism has this thing about they call store consciousness. In other words, you have these seeds in you. And depending on which seed is watered, depends on whether it comes out ugly or comes out beautiful, or whether it's something that's good for the world or bad for the world. So if something is arising in you that's unwholesome, you want to put it back into your store consciousness. And you want to water the wholesome seeds that have not yet arisen. And we can talk about that later. And you want to nourish wholesome seeds that have arisen. So if you're learning how to be more kind in your life, you want to do more things to be kind. And one of the ways you practice kindness is about being generous. That's one of the clues. Unwholesome means not conducive to liberation or the path. Liberation meaning becoming enlightened. And the last part of the path is called right concentration, and that's cultivating a mind that is present. Active concentration is mind dwelling on what's happening in the present moment, even as it changes. Selective concentration is choosing one object and holding on to it. So, for example, oftentimes when people meditate, they'll have a candle or a object like a flower, and you focus your mind on the flower, and that gives you right concentration. Instead of thinking about what you're preparing for dinner tonight. You know, that's the other side. We don't use concentration to run away. We concentrate to make ourselves deeply present, having each moment, experiencing each moment deeply. Sustained concentration comes naturally, giving rise to insight. So that is the fruitfulness of right concentration, is that you gain insight about something in your life. And sometimes you gain insight in something you didn't know you needed to gain insight in. But that works too. Okay. Let's see.
That's almost 20 minutes, a couple more minutes.
Okay, good, because I'm coming to the closure. That works perfectly. One of the things that Buddhists do in a practice is they dedicate the merit, because the theory is that when you are doing a Buddhist practice, you're developing positive merit. And you can gather it for yourself, but you know, the first time after you do it and you have gathered the merit to yourself and you go out and you say something nasty to someone, then you've lost all that merit. So the way you get around that is you dedicate your merit to all sentient beings. And that way you are included as one of the sentient beings. But if you do something contrary to what you know you ought to be doing, then you don't lose it all. Okay, so this is their dedication. By this merit, may all attain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. The courageous Manjushri, who knows everything as it is, Samantabhadra, who also knows in the same way, and all the bodhisattvas, that I may follow in their path, I completely dedicate all this virtue. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. I think I understand the Buddhist path just a little bit better now. And we do have the opportunity to be good Buddhists and be generous next. It is our privilege and our responsibility to financially support the fellowship. We exist because of the generous contributions of many. There are several ways we can give. We can contribute in the basket that's going to be passed around. We can send a check to the office or use the Venmo app. If you are here visiting for the first time, please do not feel obliged to give. Your presence is our gift. Oops. Should we sing right after that? Okay. Oops, I messed up, sorry. We'll sing in a minute. We will now receive the offering. We pledge to use these gifts to support the mission of the fellowship. And now please stand in body or spirit to sing Wake Now My Senses, number 298 in the gray hymnal. I have several announcements to share with you this morning. The Miami cluster, several congregations on the east coast of Florida, have invited us to join them in a Zoom meeting. If you're interested, I have the details and I can share those with you. The meeting is on November 16th in the afternoon. Have you noticed our sign by the street is in sad shape? Partly due to hurricanes and truthfully the Florida weather. Mildew removal, repairs to the stucco, and new paint will happen. This presents the perfect opportunity to punch up our sign design. The board would like to call together those interested in participating in a sign design team. If it will be only a limited time and doesn't involve the actual physical work of repair and painting, but we need somebody whose socks match and has some sense of design. If you are potentially interested, please see or email Laura L. after the service for more information about that. There are some events that are listed here. Also on Tuesday, there's a free flu shot clinic here at the fellowship from 9:30 until 12:30. If you haven't gotten your flu shot or you know someone who needs it, they can come by. And the Buddhist meditation already got a plug on Thursday. On Friday at 5 o'clock, we are having a meeting to start plan the auction. And not exactly this week, but coming up on November 4th, yoga will start here at 3 o'clock. That's on Monday. And I don't know about you, but I'm a little nervous about the election. I had my flu shot, so this Tuesday's covered. But we plan to gather here on Wednesday, starting at 4 o'clock, to process the election results. It's possible we won't know the results, so maybe we'll postpone until Thursday, but we'll send out a blast from the office with the final details of when we're going to do that. Are there other announcements?
Why do your socks have to match?
Your wife can join that committee, Robert. Our closing words today. Listen. Listen to what others have to say. There is wisdom in all you meet. Listen to the sounds of nature. It speaks and sings and makes music for those who pay attention. Listen to the impulses of your spirit. Take time to hear your inner yearnings, that still, small voice drowned in the raucous shout. Listen. This is a noisy world. Perhaps this year we will listen. As Jeannie comes forward to extinguish the chalice, please join me in repeating the words that are printed in the order of service. We extinguish the chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May those ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. And we will conclude our service by standing in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Go Lift It Up, number 1057 in the Teal hymnal.
Lord.
along.